So, I want to start off by talking about the new doctrine. We have TSC that's coming up. There will be different variations for this doctrine, shield and armor. I've got the skill plans in the works at the moment, so these will be the last skill plans I release ever. Because at this point, everybody should be able to understand what sorts of skills they need, what they're able to utilize, and how they're able to utilize it in terms of character training and so on and so forth. You shouldn't need to be consistently told how to be able to fly what you're flying, and what sort of skills to train. You should have a good understanding of it now by having gone through the PvP fleets that we have, had the skill plan training that you've already done so, and everybody's all gone to theory crafting fleets as it is. So you should have a basic understanding of this. If you do not have a basic understanding of this, I would suggest that the next time any FC pings these sorts of things, that you turn up, and then you'll have an understanding of it. Now, the TSC doctrine you'll be training into. You've already had an announcement as to the specifics to it, so just pick a ship that you enjoy, armor or shield, choose one DPS, one logistics, train towards it. As soon as you are done, you are to let your CEOs know, your DPS of choice, and your logistics of choice. You need to let your CEO know, your corporate CEO know, and then they will then inform their alliance CEO and so on and forth to myself. Once that's done, then we'll go ahead and start training people on the rest of the TSC doctrine, because there are a couple other things I need people to be skilled into before we utilize it appropriately. There will be no T1 options for TSC. It will be purely T2. If you have trouble getting into Omega, then make sure you come along to the operations that are able to make you money and that sort of stuff. I see a question from Yolad.
Hang on 1 second. I'm having a bit of an issue here.
No worries.
What if the CEO is rarely active?
Okay, so if your CEO is rarely active, then I would ask you to directly push it to whoever your alliance CEO is. In this case, Yola, that would be myself. Perfect.
All right.
So, the second part I want to talk about is the restructure of the industrial infrastructure. Now, we've had a couple things happen, as you already know. I'm not going to go into a further elaboration because it's just breath that I don't want to get into. Now, we're going to have a new coalition industrial director come in, and it will be Commissar Kirik. Will be running the coalition industrial side of things. He'll also be levying his role or parts of it out to different people. Relance will be taking a part, as well as, correct me if I'm wrong here, Vazia as well, for different sides of things, and a couple other people will be midway stopgaps for the industrial director position, because there's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of cogs to put in place for appropriate self-sufficiency, and this will be taking direct action as soon as possible. Effectively, it will be split into a three-way cohesive organizational unit for specifics for, PI, minerals, that sort of stuff, because the load for the indie director is a bit too much, at least what we've seen thus far. So, are there any questions as far as, am I good to move on to the third
Just
point?
statements. Mouts is IRL work schedule is somewhere between crazy and insanity. So he has not been able to attend theory crafting lessons yet, but he would be interested in attending one in the future. And Farzia was responding in the affirmative that he will be helping out, directly working next to Commissar as indie director.
Roger that. That sounds good to me. Okay, then moving on to the third point, which is PvP capability and evolution of individual skills. We've had multiple training operations and wormhole endeavors for those who have been coming on operations from here onwards. Once we sort out this engagement that we've currently got going and these upcoming fleets that we've got sorting out, once that's done, there's going to be more significant increase of training operations for everybody. These will be pinged throughout the EU time zone, so from 15 to 2100 sort of thing. Look out for pings during those sorts of times to bring in as many individuals for training as possible. There will also be late night ones hosted by Relance and Randy, and I'm assuming Commissar as well for the later options for US time zone sorts of people, and we'll get those sorted as well. For any earlier sorts of fleet operations and training, I will try to get something sorted before 1500, but there is no guarantee for that yet, as I need to have a bit of a talk with the person who is potentially going to be running that, so do not hold me to that at the moment. There's also going to be consistent operations for PvP to train for people in singular combat and fleet based objectives, so that you have an understanding of how small gang tactics work, as well as general theory crafting, so that you're able to fit your own ships for solo PvP operations instead of consistently relying on fleet ops capability ships, because a fleet op ship is not a solo PvP vessel. It is not the same type of standard. It is very different. You need to be able to understand that fleet ops escalation capability is completely different to solo operations. I think I see a
Yes,
question.
Yolad, the wormhole operation hours will hopefully become more available across more time zones by spreading out the load of who's running the fleets in there.
Yeah, that's right.
So historically, it has been me running the wormhole operations. We're going to see if we can't expand that out and get people working in there without me being online.
Correct. One more thing, there's a few more points here. So, fourth point here is doctrine supply and demand. Now, there's an in-house supply of doctrines and their sales that are currently done by myself. All of the money that's earned from there goes straight back into the production capabilities of doctrine supplies to basically keep everybody outfitted. I'm going to be expanding this coalition wide to effectively everyone, and this will be done effective immediately. So, if you want to supply people with specific doctrines, that can be any of the doctrines that we have, any of them, then feel free to do so. But before you go ahead and start putting pricings and stuff on that sort of jazz, like putting them up for market and everything like that, please make sure that you get in touch with me directly or with Relance or with Commissar. One of those three names, please. Before you try to put up anything to do with doctrines, we'll get you the correct pricing, the appropriate margins if you want to have something for profit and that sort of stuff, because there are margins for this sort of stuff, and ensuring that it was always in Sozan M4 and is available to TJTF specifically. Now, if there are external alliances, like let's say Syndicate wants to be able to use doctrines, they're more than welcome to do so. You can supply to specifically Syndicate if you wish, or to Saints. That also helps too. The reason for TJTF specifically is because that's the war side, and we're going to be utilizing that overall. Any questions thus far before I move on to the fifth point? No? Okay. So, fifth point here is seat and squads. So we need to be able to work on people who are in the coalition, because seat has most of the people signed in, which is fantastic. But what we don't have is a lot of people utilizing the squads and SIGs that we are able to utilize, are able to bring about in the coalition, such as the industrial crew, the guerrilla crew, and generally black ops and that sort of stuff. These things need filling, as well as things in the IT department, FPC, diplomacy, and so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot of things to be able to do within the coalition. It needs to be filled up. So if you are interested in any of that sort of stuff, go ahead and give it a try. Get into the SIG, see what you like, see what you don't like. You're welcome to join and leave those SIGs at any single time. You just need to make sure you inform somebody and then bounce. Any questions about the squads?
Just a comment,
Yeah.
you can apply directly to the squad in seat, and then the approval will either come or not come, and you'll be notified in seat that you've been made part of that squad. So
Exactly.
you can go in and do it. Seat is, I also, while we're on seat, before we move on, we need everybody to be using seat for the industrial side of things as much as humanly possible, for multiple reasons. One, it's much easier to track orders and what people are doing if they are fulfilling orders within the Alliance Industry module. It also provides us a single pane of glass for being able to get everybody opportunity to participate in industrial content, regardless of what their skill level is. The orders range from the most mundane, basic materials to some of the most complex. So everybody from every skill level can participate. It's also critical that we try to keep as much ISK as we have inside the coalition economy. We don't want to be going outside of the coalition for stuff that we can get inside. We are working on doing, instead of, in addition to the buyback, which is always active, making kind of like a retail store available where people can purchase minerals and excess materials that the coalition has on hand that might not be used for a particular build during any given cycle, so that they can get the things that they need without going to one of the major trade hubs. I'm hoping to have that operational by the end of the month. But it is imperative that everybody is going into seat, checking for orders. If you are engaging in industrial activity, that's going to be your bread and butter over there. So please start using it as much as possible.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that once you have applied for a squad in seat, go to the appropriate channel in top of announcements and let the person who runs a squad or just at the squad specifically in there, so that somebody can go ahead and appropriately go ahead and take care of your application, so we can move on from there, so it's not just sitting there for days and you're wondering, what the fuck's going on. Any questions before I move on? No? Okay. So, another thing, so the 6 point here, you have a couple people there, Nomad? Do you mean you have a couple questions, or do you just mean in seat in the squads? I'm going to assume he means squads in seat. Yeah, no, that's fine. Just getting more people into the squads themselves is where they need to basically be. No, Nomad, I'm agreeing with you. Okay. So, on to the 6 point with reactions around the Discord and general engagements in regards to messages, fleet operations, that sort of stuff. Guys, like, it's a very simple thing to have reactions on the Discord server. Please try to do it as often as possible. It generally helps gauge the engagement level of pings, as well as fleet operations, announcements, meetings, fun stuff, so on and so forth. It only takes a second of your time to do. It really does. Just click and pick an emoji. I don't care which one it is. It doesn't have to be the fanciest. It doesn't have to be moving. It doesn't need to pop out, be a 3D animation. Just click something. All it does for us is know that you've clicked it, know that there's engagement with with the announcement, with the fleets, with the fun thing, with the YouTube video, whatever it is. It helps us gauge the reaction base, helps us understand that it is reaching X amount of people, and people either enjoy it or they dislike it. If you dislike it, just put a thumbs down. Like, it's just general reactions. It helps us be able to understand what's going on, how active things are, and that sort of stuff. If you see it, don't just click off it, just put a friggin' emoji. Not difficult. To the final point to wrap this up, I wanted to ask, generally speaking, this is probably going to get the most questions. What could the coalition do to have you guys venture into low sec more often to gain the bounties that are in low sec? Like, what do you feel should be done to encourage that more? Because I'd like to see more general activity from everybody in low sec. There is a good amount of activity, but I'd like it to increase. So, what do you guys feel should be done? Humana, what do you mean bounty? Bounty as in regards. Yes, correct. Yeah, the general ore that we have available, the ice, fleet operations, and that sort of stuff. Because a lot of what we have on the island in Anchor, um, yeah. Oh, okay, then if you're already happy with where you are, Humana, then that's fine. Relance, could you see if there's any other questions? Because I'm only seeing what pops up on my mobile.
Nomad has mentioned security for ratting. That might be something that we
Never thought of
can
that.
do the same way that we provide security for mining. We can put people on the gates, and we can bring some of the bigger ships in. The ratting in low sec is great. It does require you to bring some big boy toys in though, because the sites are just that much more difficult.
True.
Nomad, get with me in this coming week, please, and let's see if we can't come up with a schedule for ratting fleets in low sec and get some people who are willing to sit on the gates. They'll get like a cut of the prize of and the bounties and stuff for sitting and providing security, and we'll figure out all of those mechanics.
Yeah, definitely sounds like something to be able to utilize. I've not really thought of ratting security for low sec operations, but that's definitely a good idea, Nomad.
Yeah, I mean, you can see people who are ratting in low sec, they generally have a Varger or another Marauder, and then a fleet support. People who are just littler ships that support the Vargers running the sites in case anybody tries to come and drop on them. I think that we could get away with doing the same type of gate-based security that we do with low sec mining, and having some PvP ships on standby just in case. So, no, man, you and I can put that together. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with that being a good idea.
Yes,
It's not
and
something we've.
Humana's comment is we can also run joint mining fleet at the same time, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, we can
So,
make it like a
yeah.
massive operation. Yeah, I like the sound of that. If you guys feel that encourage more low sec engagement, then fantastic. We can utilize that.
Yeah, there are low sec systems within JIA and in our operational area that are more active than others due to transit and the faction warfare stuff, but we can, Halma is a huge system. We can run ratting in the lower end of Halma toward Millie, that's on the other end of the 180 AU jump. Relatively easily, but we can also do things, I think, in Asget and Terraran. Sozin is just a transit system, unfortunately, so I don't know that we'll be able to rat in there comfortably, but we'll put something together and start pinging the fleets. That's another thing. To go back to seat, we are putting fleet activities both in the in-game calendars and in seat. We need people to register, sort of RSVP in seat if they're going to come for the fleet, so that we can then track activity and know who's going to be there beforehand, so that we can plan appropriately. If we get 0 responses for a fleet, then we're not going to go out. If we've got 3 people that show up, it doesn't really make sense and becomes impossible for us to run rat security. So we need people to take an interest, to make sure that they're RSVPing for the events in seat under the calendar, and we can start expanding what we're doing down there. If anybody has any questions about seat or where to do things, first, there are instructions in the technical library channel, little walkthroughs with screenshots. If there's something that you want to know how to do that's more advanced or not covered in one of those, you can ping the IT channel, and I or Michaela or someone else, Dono even, will get with you and help you out.
Vazi has a question for the rest of the coalition. If there was a system that offered mining ships for free, where you buy them through donating ore, would that help encourage you to go into low sec?
And I think that's more of a poll question. You might want to put that in the
Yeah,
poll area, Varzia.
definitely. Yeah, I'll put that up in a poll for him afterwards, and we'll see what kind of interest that gauges, and we'll go from there. Alright, if there's no more questions from anybody, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'll give it one more minute in case anybody has any more questions.
It's a race between Yiji and Hakonen. Who's coming out on top?
We'll see.
I think it's Hakonen.
And Miji stopped typing. And now Mouts has gone for it. And now Yola too.
Several people are typing.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
What is the average wing speed of a swallow?
It was, I think, the last time somebody asked this question, Mouts, which I think was you as well. If I remember correctly, it was 6.5 inches. Yola, you fired.
Well, you could sell your DED sites that you can.
Conan, as for ratting and low sec, is there anywhere that you could sell your DED sites that you get the low sec? DED aren't something that I usually run. Would that be an idea to have something in the Discord or seat? As far as I'm aware, I've put a security NPC area in the coalition channel, where you can go to reset your standings, which is about several jumps away from Sozan. It's still in the area, but it's like a up travel through low sec, so I'd recommend you take a frig or something with a
I
quicker
think what
load
he's
time.
asking is,
No, I
the
know.
DED sites are escalations.
Yeah, there are DD sites in the area. What I was talking about was the uh, reset for standings. Maybe the same area that you can sell the DED drops.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was talking about the security standings in the first place because I know people get into fights and stuff often, and it's nearby that you can go ahead and sell this stuff to, the tag specifically, so you can reset your standings. That might be the same place that you can sell DED drops. I'm not certain because I personally don't run the DED sites all that often, so you should be able to, but I would say don't hold me to it and check for yourself. Any other questions from anybody before I finish this up? Mounts. Is there an op tonight? Asking for a friend. You already know the question to that. You already know the answer to that, Mounts. Conan, no, the drops. I don't run DDs. Others run DDs. Is there somewhere in Discord that I could put them up for sale or for grabs so others can run them instead? Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, so selling the locations of the DD sites. Huh, that's interesting. No, we don't have that. We could, though. Yeah, could definitely have an area for that. I'd have to make a thing. I'd have to make a channel for it.
Humana's got a good point. We could put a DD tab in the market section.
Yeah, that could work too.
Yeah.
Could have an addition. I like that idea. All right, Humana, we'll do that.
Yeah, the DEDs are the escalations and whatnot.
And you can sell them for like
Yes,
a profit or whatever. Yeah.
right. Humana, definitely get with Commissar on hauling. There's a lot
Yes.
that needs to be done.
There's quite a bit that needs to be done.
Um, our friends at Moist have invited us on a structure bash. I posted for them in the Ally Fleet channel, Fleet
Yeah.
Ping channel.
When is that?
It's their 20. Crap. Give me a second. I can't. My brain is fried. It is. There's two. One is at 2118.
Yeah, it's a couple hours.
Yeah, you got a couple hours for that. The other one is tomorrow, 1619. If anybody's interested in going along for fun, getting some green on their Z-Kill board, the comms will be in Moist server.
Yeah.
There is a link in the Friendly Links channel. And the rally point, I believe, is going to be Amar. Excuse me. So just wanted to announce that since it is coming up in a couple hours.
Yeah. All right. If there aren't any more questions, I'll give you one more chance, guys, if there's any more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Final call for questions. Nope. All right. Fair enough.